say vosotros?
What?
You say vosotros? No, I thought you did. I was like, wait, what?
Alright, Carrie, come in. Carrie, come in and relax.
Don't go until they fall. Don't worry, relax, alright? Okay, just relax. Don't worry.
You keep on pointing your gun towards the...
Don't move it from there. You guys can relax, but don't move that right there. Bend your knees. Don't lock your knees, okay? Not squats, but just bend your knees. You have a whole veteran in here. Please stand up straight. You have a whole veteran. Thank you. Huh? Relax means like stand, but it's moving, not moving.
One minute.
What position number 10?
Good evening. I'd like to take the opportunity to welcome you to the school board meeting this Tuesday, February 15th, 2022. If you have filled out a card completely and is it with Kathy Tompkins to my left, then you'll be able to speak when the appropriate time comes. We will not take any more cards as of this time. The meeting has started with a gavel. We encourage you to sit quietly and listen to this informative meeting because we've got some really great things ahead of us tonight. But before we start, we have the Booker High School JROTC under the direction of retired Sergeant First Class John Ledbetter to lead us in the pledge. And I have a student representative, Simeon Glover from Booker High School, who will lead us in that pledge as well. So please stand.
That's the march.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. Next up, we have a live performance featuring the students from Pineview School. Please welcome the Pineview School Chorus as they sing Dadwana, an arrangement by Michael Barrett.
So quiet. Hello, everyone. How are you? I think it's important to remember that Black history goes beyond the creation of this country and expands past the borders of this continent. We're going to sing a song for you that is in Venda or Shivenda from the Bantu language of South Africa. And it's a children's song that is very simple and becomes gradually more complex as we go through it. But as you're listening to this piece, think about how our music today has been impacted by the music from South Africa. Thank you so much. That was absolutely wonderful. And next, we'd like to have a little chat with our student representative today, which is Simeon Glover from Booker High School. Simeon, welcome, and I have given you a certificate of appreciation for being here today. And I would like to have you tell us a little bit about what's going on in your life and what you're looking to do in the future.
Gladly. Hello, my name is Simeon Glover. I am in the 11th grade and representing Booker High School. I am an ambassador in the College for Every Student, our CFES program, and am in the ACE program. My passions right now are art and engineering, which I am hoping to go to college for architecture or mechanical engineering. And in terms of colleges, I haven't zeroed in on the exact colleges, but I am thinking of doing colleges in the South or in Florida.
That's wonderful. Would you please tell us about the Civility Squad character trait for February and how it impacts you?
The civility squad trait for February is silence. Quiet your mind, or quiet your voice, quiet your mind, a sense of peace you will find. This quote is especially useful in high school, which I think is a great component to success. This quote resonates with me because during high school for me, I think that quieting your voice and your mind is a great way to get the negative thoughts and conjecture out of your head, especially for like tests and meetings such as this. I'd also like to add that through quieting your voice and mind, high school students and adults alike can get through issues and solve problems in the world as a whole.
Thank you so much. That's wonderful. We really are happy that you're here. And this is Black History Month, as we know, the second half of Black History Month. And we want to now have some special presentations. So I'd like to call forward our own Dr. Harriet Moore to go over this next series of presentations on African American history.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and good evening, esteemed board members, Dr. Asplin, Mr. McKinley, and Mr. Glover. I wish you the best. If you're going to choose a school in the state of Florida, you know, this one is a real good choice. I'm just saying. Before I move on, I also want to thank one of the proud principals, Dr. Covert, and Mr. Gardner for that wonderful display of music this evening. Let's give them a round of applause, the Pineview Chorus. So tonight we continue with our celebration of African American historical contributions to our Sarasota community. Through courage, determination, and dignity, we acknowledge the legacy of Mrs. Emma E. Booker through the Scholar Awards recognition of students in the CFES Brilliant Pathways program from Booker Middle School, who will be introduced by their proud principal, Dr. LaShawn Frost, followed by the clever and articulate spoken words from students of Emma E. Booker Elementary School, who will be introduced by their proud principal, Ms. Edwina Oliver. Then the proud principal of Sarasota Middle School, Mrs. Jennifer Nzesa, and the Sarasota County Schools Teacher of the Year, Dr. Jennifer Jaso, and her History Fair students will share the short-term impact and long-term significance of Sarasota educator, Mrs. Dorothy Smith. And finally, we will close with the proud principal of Booker High School, Dr. Rachel Shelley, introducing her students, showcasing their creative works of art. And now, Dr. Frost and her team will come up and introduce their student awards. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Moore. Good evening, Dr. Asplin, school board members. Of course, it's my pleasure to be here this evening to introduce you to our school community. This evening, as Dr. Moore shared, marks a celebration of Emma E. Booker's lasting legacy. Emma E. Booker transformed education in Sarasota County. Her influence was certainly undeniable, as you can see, not only in the schools that bear her name, but her mark was made in children throughout this great country, many of whom became educators themselves. Emma E. Booker personally helped to see a path forward in a time and place where the odds were stacked against many people of color. In honor of the vision she manifested in this great community, it is my privilege to recognize the achievements of Booker Middle School's College for Every Student Brilliant Pathways Scholars. Recognized as a school of distinction for the past 6 years, many of Booker Middle School's scholars have not only excelled in academics, but also extracurricular activities such as VPA programs, sports, volunteerism, and many other programs that make these students some of this country's most outstanding scholars. Tonight, we would like to honor these scholars who have been recognized for their outstanding accomplishments as a 2022 College for Every Student Brilliant Pathways Scholar. This academic award recognizes those students who are endowed with academic and intellectual curiosity, exceptional qualities and abilities, and leadership. These scholars, ladies and gentlemen, have a total GPA average of 4.0. Definitely, thank you. That certainly deserves a round of applause. And tonight, please join me and College for Every Student Coordinator, Mrs. Haley Schaefer, in recognizing this year's CFES Brilliant Pathways Academic Award winners. Ms. Schaefer, would you present these scholars with their certificates? Come on, guys, you can do better than that. I love my scholars. I mean, think about the legacy of Emma E. Booker, what she stood for in terms of academic excellence, and the scholars that are standing before you tonight have a total GPA of 4.0. Congratulations to these scholars. And they are amazing, as you heard. We have been a CFES school for the last 6 years, being recognized for a school of distinction. We are proud of the work that our scholars do, perform, and they are amazing. And of course, we look forward to these scholars doing great things, not only in this community, but in our global society. Thank you again.
Good evening, Dr. Asplin and our school board members, and to my superior over there, Dr. Brandon Johnson. I am Edwina Oliver, the proud principal of Emma Edwina Booker School. And with me, I have two of Emma E. Booker scholars with me, and they're here to share a little bit more about Black History Month. Out of these two of my 519 shining stars, these two fifth graders, first we have Aubrey Saunders, who is a student from Mrs. Allen and Mrs. Major Huntley's fifth grade class. And second, we have Mackenzie Summers, who is a fifth grader from Mrs. Gunderson and Miss Lewis's class. The common denominator between these two young ladies is they have been scholars of Emma E. Booker since kindergarten, as well as their siblings, and who have gone on to be the Booker Nation. So now I present to you Aubrey Saunders.
I'm here to inform you that Black history did not begin in large ships with stolen Africans shackled and chained to one another, packed like sardines as they made life-threatening and life-changing voyages to the New World. Black history began with kings, queens, and scholars of great African civilizations.
Black history, this American history, is earmarked in courage, dignity, and determination. The courage to stand up to mistreatment, injustice, discrimination, and violence. The dignity to sit at lunch counters and be bullied by those who dislike them because of the color of their skin. And determination to receive an education when it was against the law to learn, to read, and write. The founding of historically black colleges and universities was done with the help of allies and religious organizations. This rich history is earmarked in courage, dignity, and determination.
My history, Black history, American history did not begin in large ships with stolen Africans shackled and chained to one another. It is a history rich in contributions of Africans and African Americans in the fields of arts, sciences, medicine, math, engineering, politics, and sports. It began with great kings, queens, and scholars and will continue to forever live on through me.
Well, that was wonderful. Hi, everybody. I'm Mrs. Nzeza. I'm the proud principal at Sarasota Middle School. Thank you so much for providing time to recognize the contributions of a remarkable Sarasota educator and leader, Mrs. Dorothy Smith. The span of her 36-year career in our district is a robust indication of her extended impact and reach. Mrs. Smith began her career as a teacher at Emma E. Booker and Venice Elementary Schools. She became a district reading specialist, and in 1971, she was honored with the distinction of Sarasota County District Teacher of the Year. The following year, in 1972, 10 years after the desegregation of Sarasota County schools, Mrs. Smith became the first African American principal at Southside Elementary School, where she remained for 11 years. As a female principal, I understand acutely the difficult and complex arena in leading a school in our current times and climate. But I can only imagine how inspirational she must have been to so many aspiring female leaders during her tenure in the late 70s and early 80s. Mrs. Smith's courage and determination throughout her career earned her the dignity she is remembered for today. I am honored to be here to recognize Mrs. Smith and would now like to introduce to you a brief video of a dedication to her last year at Southside, where I was also the principal. Good afternoon, everyone. It is my honor to begin today's celebration and commemoration of Mrs. Dorothy Smith.
We're here today to celebrate and to recognize Ms. Dorothy Smith, our school district's first African American principal of a district post-segregation. Now more than ever, it's crucial for our community to know, recognize, and appreciate all its history. This includes the tremendous contributions of our Afro-American teachers, our school-based leaders, and district leaders.
You all have a teacher that made a difference in your life. Mrs. Smith was that teacher for me. She and other teachers like her did things to prepare us to live not only in Newtown, but in the world. That's the type of teacher that Mrs. Smith was. And I love her today for that.
She was an educator who provided a high-quality education with the utmost integrity, making a positive difference in the lives and futures of her students. This beautiful plaque marks her legacy in the history of our local community, our school district, and especially Southside Elementary School.
I'm going out to visit her tomorrow to let her know her story is alive and well and in good hands. Thank you.
Good evening. In my classroom, students encounter fascinating narratives and details that tell the stories of our past and provide perspective for the future. Students are taught to examine the importance of historical context, short-term impact, and most importantly, long-term significance of events to help them have a better understanding of the physical and cultural world in which they live. Tonight, 2 of my students will share the context and significance of Miss Dorothy Smith in their words. Let me introduce Grace Toll and Aurora Nzeza.
We all know and study important African American females who have impacted their communities, like Rosetta Scott King, Rosa Parks, and Misty Copeland. But do you know about Dorothy Smith? Dorothy Smith was an important part of our Sarasota community. She inspired and empowered others here. Miss Smith was the first female African American principal in Sarasota County and at Southside Elementary School. She cared about others and helped others like herself through adversity. She was a trailblazer for all women, especially women of color. She was a humble hero in her community of Sarasota and is important to recognize.
Dorothy Smith was an inspiration for others in education. Before being principal, Mrs. Smith was the Sarasota County School District Teacher of the Year in 1971. One of her former 6th grade students, local resident Walter Gilbert, said she was a progressive teacher. She taught beyond the district standards. He said Mrs. Smith would take him places Black people weren't allowed to go because the community was segregated at the time. They attended plays in the city where he learned about Shakespeare, and he even learned how to use chopsticks when she took them all to a local Chinese restaurant.
Miss Smith was a humble hero. She was everywhere in her community. She was a new town community historian and helped create the Booker High School Historical Room. She was a 4-year member of the Sarasota Housing Authority, which helps provide affordable homes for low-income families. Additionally, she was part of the Delta Sigma Theta sorority, where she served others who needed help, provided friendship to women, and promoted scholarships. She also marched with suffrages and took a stand for social justice with the sorority. I know they were proud to have her as a Delta Sigma Theta woman because she was willing to confront challenges she faced. Miss Smith did these things because she knew it was the right thing to do, not to receive any recognition for it.
Mrs. Dorothy Smith was an incredible leader, an inspiring teacher, and an empowering trailblazer for all, especially for women of color. We attended the school where Mrs. Smith first served as the first African American principal in Sarasota Southside Elementary School. We celebrated her during our 5th grade year there due to the impact on our Sarasota community history and legacy. There is a beautiful plaque on the facade of the school, which is now a stop on the Newtown Alive Heritage Tour. Her message to her students that they can do anything if they work hard for it still rings clear today in our community.
Good evening, everyone, our wonderful school board members. And we also have our superintendent, obviously, and my very own student, Mr. Glover. I am very excited to be here, yet another proud principal, and the proud principal of Booker High School. Today, I want to talk to you about something that we're currently doing at Booker High School. But it wasn't my idea, it's the students. The Student Government Association of Booker High School spearheaded the Black History Month initiatives at school this year. Each class was responsible for a project. The sophomore class is responsible for a cultural fest that we'll have next Friday on campus. The sophomore class president solicits support from all the various organizations on campus, including our VPA department. With the VPA, dance, music, film, animation, and theater disciplines will be involved. Tonight, we're going to talk about our very own visual arts program and their participation in this activity. I am going to allow Tuesday Wayland, who is also a scholar at Booker High School, to begin, followed by Sadie Smith, who is also a scholar at Booker High School and both in our VPA program. So I'm going to turn it over to you. Come on up, Tuesday.
So Inspired by the art. Inspired by the style of artist Kara Walker, our mural reflects the silhouettes of some of our Booker High School students. By taking various angles and pictures of students and then creating stencils, which would be spray painted by chalk paint in our courtyard, we're really representing the diversity that exists not only in Booker High School, but in Sarasota County, and yeah.
Very good. Thank you, Tuesday. And thank you, Tuesday. And now we have Sadie Smith. Sadie Smith is a senior, while Tuesday is a junior at Booker High School, and also a part of our VPA program. Go ahead, please.
All right. The project will be finished on February 22nd during the festival. As Tuesday said, it will be in our courtyard in the heart of our school, known as the Eye of the Tornado. The various silhouettes will be behind an array of colors as red, yellow, black, and green, representing the Ethiopian flag. And the piece will represent the union of the history in our country, our local Black community, Newtown, and the diverse body of students at Booker High School.
Thank you so much. And who's this?
This is Kara Walker, the artist that we're going to be basing our project off of. So we basically took around 20 photos of students in the sophomore class around our school. And the CTE program made cutouts made out of wood that we're going to be spray painting in the courtyard.
Very good. Would you like to show the audience what you're talking about, please? And I'll pass out one to our board members.
So this is a snippet of what's going to be posted in our courtyard. As you can see, this is one silhouette, but there will be many others, and they'll be in union together around the Eye of the Tornado.
Thank you so much, Sadie and Tuesday. But before Sadie begins, since we're talking about scholars, I would be remiss if I did not share with you that our very own Sadie Smith has been, well, why don't you tell them, where are you going?
I have been accepted into Ringling College of Art and Design, and I will be an illustration major.
Very good. Sadie boasts a weighted GPA of a 3.9 and unweighted GPA of a 4.6. Sadie has completed 6 of the required 7 ACE courses for an ACE diploma. She has a total of 24 college credits. She started Booker High School in 9th grade and will be finishing as a senior. So congratulations, Sadie. Now, I'm so excited to be closing out this afternoon or this evening because there's something I want to share with you. We started off on the 2nd of February talking about Sarasota's history. How fitting was it tonight that the educator that we're talking about and celebrating, 3 representatives from her school. She is still the only person in Sarasota County with not 1, not 2, but 3 schools named in her honor. The first educator, Emma E. Edwina Booker. And then let's transition to number 2. I thought it was so interesting that tonight we celebrated Dorothy Smith, who was also a first. The first principal here in Sarasota County through post-segregation. Very excited for her. And then we had Pineview. Pineview, I'm thinking about Pineview. And I'm thinking about another first. And that is our very own Dr. Harriet Moore. Dr. Moore was the first African-American to attend Pineview School for Gifted. So again, we are starting where we began celebrating the history here in Sarasota. The Black history, that is. And so now I will turn it back over to Dr. Moore. Dr. Moore.
Thank you, Dr. Shelley, board members. I do want to make one correction. I was the first African-American female to graduate from Pineview School of the Gifted, and so proud of it. It's a great way to end up our legacy here. We're a rich community with rich education for all children here who desire and want to attain that. We have amazing teachers, administrators, and staff, and an amazing board that stands by us and helps us get where we need to go, and all of the parents, because we couldn't do it without the parents. So thank you all for that. This is a very supportive community, and I will leave you with this, to remember one thing. Here in Sarasota, our focus is to create inclusive environments that foster a sense of belonging in which the dignity of everyone is honored. Thank you so much.
Mrs. Brown.
Well, I just wanted to thank you all for this wonderful program that we've had. Emma Booker has a place in my heart. My daughter, when she started teaching 10 years there, and I was able to visit Emma Booker so many times. And it reminds me somewhat of a show that I've been watching lately, and it was written up in the paper today, and that's the Lessons of Abbott Elementary. I don't know if any of you have seen it. It's a new sitcom on ABC. And this is what the speaker said of it. It reminds you that many teachers are everyday heroes, not only teaching our children, but inspiring them, loving them, and protecting them. The teachers in Abbott Elementary, particularly the young, black, idealistic ones, show us what is at stake as we tighten the vice on our educators. They remind us that these are not just pawns in a political game, but real people, often the best kind of people, doing the best they can with too little and not been applauded nearly enough. I mean, our teachers that are working with these students, I commend them. But now, it is a comedy. So there's it shows some administrators that might not have it all together, and even some of the teachers. But it gives you a taste of what some of them have been looking at, some of the problems that they deal with. But also, if you look, there's a lot of heart in that show. And Black history has been not only in our schools, but in our churches too. Our church, Church of the Palms, had a community speaker, Jamar Tisby, who is the author of The Color of Compromise and How to Fight Racism, spoke at the Church of the Palms in their community speakers program. And you can watch that, and I would encourage you to do that. If you go to www.churchofthepalms.org/watch and go, I think they posted it on 2/2/22, and it's the Jamar Tisby. And he gets into the relationship with the church and what you are doing now. And he contends that we are going through another change in the racial makeup of our country and how we do, very similar to what we did in the 60s. And challenges, where are you going to be on this path? And says that, yes, there's going to be pushback, but there's a place for us. And I would hope, if you have a chance, it's not something we're going to do in our schools. It's something one-on-one. If you would like to see that, I would encourage you to watch it, to see, what our church is doing to make a change. Thank you.
Well, I want to say thank you to all of those that participated in this wonderful presentation. Dr. Moore, thank you for your efforts, and all the principals, because we know the work that you do. Love seeing Dr. Covert sitting in the audience and know what he has done at Pineview. But I would say, to these students, work hard, which I'm sure you all are doing. Be kind, which I'm sure you all are, and that magic of curiosity. And I don't think there's anything that takes away all through your life. I mean, I'm still, at this age, I'm still very curious about things, and I think that takes us a long way. So I would just say congratulations, those of you that are choosing colleges or looking at your next step, but the academic excellence and the artistic work that's being done and the merger of those two things, the critical thinking that's involved, are just wonderful to see. So thank you for being here tonight, because this is wonderful. Thank you again. Are we going to do any pictures, Craig? Are we doing any pictures of these wonderful students? Could we do a picture before they leave? Please and thank you. Oops, that ends our special presentation. Up next, we have our superintendent's report. Dr. Asplin?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Appreciate that. And I also want to thank Dr. Moore and our principals who are here tonight and our students. You did a fantastic job tonight in your presentations, and we are very, very proud of you. So thank you very, very much. Also, I wanted to thank Alta Vista today. They honored Black History Month by celebrating their 33rd National African American Read-In today. And I think quite a few of us were over there and read to the students today. I know I read to a first grade class, and it was just terrific. The students were amazing, and I know they appreciated me, and I appreciated them. It was an honor and a privilege to be there today. So, again, thank you to Alta Vista. Couple of other things I wanted to mention. First of all, just a reminder that the School of Choice Controlled Open Enrollment, that will continue through 4:30 p.m. on February the 28th. So if you're interested in that, parents, please visit our webpage and take a look at that again. February 28th is the deadline for open enrollment. Also, on Thursday is Random Acts of Kindness Day. Just want to bring that to everyone's attention. Also, this month we are celebrating Career and Technical Education Month. And the state currently has more than 772,000 K-12 career and technical education students. And our local efforts, I think, should be commended as well. And I just want to mention a couple of things. First of all, STC has a few different things that are going on. First of all, on February the 3rd, they hosted the Experience Engineering Luncheon, which was excellent. And then also they held the Spring Into the New open house at STC on February 3rd as well. February 24th, they will host the Lakewood Ranch Business Alliance's next Springboard to Careers panel discussion. So if you're looking forward to that, that's at STC. And just a few items about our career and technical education department here in our school system here in Sarasota. I know that Trip Jennings mentioned this a few workshops ago, but just so you know, in our CTE programs, we have 4,139 middle schoolers who are in our CTE programs, 5,134 high schoolers in those programs, 632 current high school dual enrollment students, 22 CTE pathways in our high schools, 18 courses in our middle schools, and 31 current programs offered at STC. And then we have, get this, over 2,000 industry certifications that are earned annually by our students so that they can go on to the workforce with those certifications. So our CTE program is doing very well, and we will continue to push that forward in our strategic plan, as you know. And then also the referendum. Remember, March 8th is voting day, and so just wanted to remind everybody, March 8th, mark your calendar for voting on the referendum. And then the last item that I wanted to mention in my report is I wanted to introduce our new CFO. So if Mitzi Corcoran and Bonnie Penner could come forward, I appreciate it. As you know, I think you know, maybe you don't, Mitzi Corcoran, our CFO, she's going to be retiring on June 30th. Yes, yes. You can see she's very excited about that. And obviously, we're going to miss her greatly, and we'll talk more about her later. But I wanted to introduce you to our new CFO who we have hired, Bonnie Penner. She is a CPA, and she's actually from Columbia County. She started as an auditor for the Auditor General's office. She was also a CFO for Lake County Schools for a couple of years, also CFO for Florida Virtual for a few years, and then the CFO for Hamilton County as well, and then now is Columbian County CFO, and she's going to be joining us, and we're very excited about her coming on board. She will begin with us on April the 4th. That'll give Bonnie and Mitzi a couple of months to transition as Mitzi leaves us. And as you know, in the CFO position, that'll be very, very important. So we're very excited that you're going to join us, and thank you for being here tonight. Did you want to say a few words?
Just a few. You did a great job of talking about my career, which my full career has been in school district education in the state of Florida. So again, starting from the Auditor General's office, I have spent 20 years as a CFO in the state of Florida after that. So I'm really excited to be here. I am a native Floridian. I actually grew up on the East Coast, so I'm excited to come to the West Coast. I've spent some time here, and I really, really do enjoy it. So I'm looking forward to joining the community and trying to fill some big shoes here.
Well, and as you know, also the FEFP, the Florida Education Finance Program, is very difficult to understand. It just is. And Bonnie is an instructor for all up-and-coming CFOs in Florida. And so I know she does a great job with that, and I know that Tallahassee really is happy that you're doing that, and all the administrators are as well, as we produce new CFOs that are coming out of your classes and joining some of our districts. So thank you very much for that as well. And again, we're looking forward to having you here come April the 4th. So thank you.
Thank you.
Mrs. Brown.
I just wanted to say welcome, and I think that you will find Sarasota being the best city, the best school district in Sarasota County, and you will stay here and retire here and live forever because we are the best community. You'll love it. Thank you, and we're glad to come aboard.
And that ends your report.
That concludes my report. Thank you.
Next up, we have the hearing of citizens. Do we have the cards, Tom?
I do. So I'm going to call 3 names. The first name will be at the podium, and then 2 people will be on deck. And I'll call 1 name as a speaker leaves. You'll be on deck. When you come up to the podium, let me remind you to speak your name, because the name that they will most hear is the person coming on deck. So when you get to the podium, speak your name. So up first, Barbara Bond.
Before we get to that, I little couple of things I'd like to read. I'm sorry, I got a little ahead of you. But at this point in the meeting, we're going to hear from citizens wishing to speak who have completely filled out and submitted a citizen's card. If your full name is not written on the card or you have failed to complete and sign the card, your name will not be called. Please speak to the board, not the audience. And I'll reiterate that. Please speak to the board and not to the audience. Furthermore, speakers addressing the school board shall not make remarks which are irrelevant to the business of the school board or which are abusive, threatening, defamatory, obscene, profane, or otherwise of a disorderly nature. As such, it is not a forum for attacking individual employees or school board members. Any such complaints should be submitted in writing to the superintendent. This is a business meeting of the school board, and the public expects that we conduct it in an orderly, efficient, effective, and dignified manner. We humbly ask that you act as your grandmother taught you to, be respectful of others and treat them as you would want to be treated. However, it is unlawful to disrupt or interfere with the school board meeting, and that any such action may result in a misdemeanor or offense of the second degree at the discretion of the presiding officer pursuant to Florida Statute 1001-.372(3), which for purposes of public comment tonight is me. Any individual who interferes with the expeditious or orderly process of this meeting will be removed. Finally, as public servants elected by the people of this county, we will listen with open minds and open hearts to your comments. We respect your First Amendment right to freedom of speech, and as a citizen of this great country, you may understand that your rights are not absolute. So you're free to speak your mind, but you cannot defame an individual or yell fire in a crowded theater. With rights comes responsibilities. All right, Tom, first up.
Okay, we have Barbara Vaughn, Jennifer Cottrell, and Sebastian Marnhart.
Good evening, members of the board and others in attendance. My name is Barbara Vaughn, and as usual, I'm here to pray because as proud as I am that we opened this meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance and the posting of the colors, I am always disappointed that we don't pray to open the meeting. So, Father God, we give you thanks and praise for the people gathered here this evening. We thank you for the parents, the grandparents, the friends, and others who care about our children. And we thank you tonight especially for the wonderful young people that we've had the privilege of seeing and hearing and honoring as they have earned the honors that were presented to them tonight. We thank you, Lord, that we live in the free state of Florida. We thank you for Governor DeSantis and his participation in our school activities and our school boards. Lord, we ask you to be with us, all of us, as we do the best we can to promote our children, not just from one grade to another, but promote them to be the best citizens they can. We've seen such wonderful examples here tonight, Lord, from the smallest to the oldest, and to their teachers and their principals, and we thank you so much, Lord, for all of them. And now, Lord, as we continue this meeting, I ask you to open the ears of the board members, let them hear and understand what the parents and others who are going to speak have come to share with them. We thank you, Lord, for all who are here and all who will speak, and we ask you to bless this meeting. In your name we pray. Amen.
Thank you.
Linda Crump.
Good evening, Jennifer Cottrell. Wanted to take a few moments. I understand through the last several board meetings, there's been a lot of discussion on parent comments, that maybe we're here for a few minutes of fame, or our comments need to be limited only to agenda items. I really hope that every board member up there tonight really listens, as the chair said earlier, that you're here to listen. If you really thought about it and listened, we all should be working together. Parents, teachers, students, administration, board members. I believe everybody's input is very valuable, and if we all listen to one another, work together, we could accomplish so much for our children. We are not here for any fame. I would much rather be home with my child tonight than to stand at a board meeting. But I've told my child over and over again, I will come, I will advocate for you, I will defend you, I will make sure you are guaranteed the proper education. If that means giving up time for my family to come stand here at a board, whether I'm listened to or whether I'm ignored, I will come and stand here week after week, because I think the parents' opinions are valuable. I think that we can come in and give feedback for our children and our students. I think that teachers' voices should be heard. what I'm asking each and every one of you board members is to really think about this before you vote and decide that we're going to cut public comment down to 2 minutes. We're going to only limit it to agenda items at the beginning and push non-agenda items at the end. You know, parents come here. We come here not because it's almost like our last resort. We've tried things throughout the schools. They don't work. We come here as board members. You know, you're here. You're voted in, and your job, from what I understand, is to make sure that all the children in the district have an education. That's what we're asking you. If you don't know that there's a problem, if you're not listening to the parents or the teachers or the students, and you don't know that there's a problem, how can you fix it? You know, we can all work together. If we all work together, could you imagine what we could do for our students? You wouldn't, if we work together and we fix things, we wouldn't be here week after week having these discussions, you know, because we fix things. There wouldn't be anything to come and complain about, you know, and it's not all about complaining. We come in here, we give positive feedback, we give praise when needed. But sometimes, along with that, that comes the good, the bad, and the ugly. And I know nobody likes to hear it. I don't like to hear it. My child doesn't like to hear it. You don't like to hear it. But that is part of life. You know, if we don't hear the good, bad, and ugly, how do we fix things? You know, we go on doing the same thing over and over again, and we don't get any results. So what I'm asking each and every one of you is to really think about it and understand that nobody's here to berate people. We're not here to cause scenes. We're here because we are concerned about our children's education. Thank you.
Thank you.
Daniel Cruz.
Alrighty. Good evening. My name is Sebastian Martinez. I'm a graduate of Booker High School, founder of my organization, Sarasota Youth Association, a proud Penn State student, and a product of the Sarasota County school system. I wish I could say I'm proud of my county, acclaimed as one of the best counties of education in the state of Florida, but to do so would be a lie to myself. To give a brief overview of why, Sarasota County, despite being more than financially capable of doing so, has yet to provide students and educators with basic fundamental resources to supply their classrooms. On top of that, funding for schools is not distributed in an equitable manner. That's because you don't actually care about your teachers, your educators, and your students in your county. Teachers are underpaid and spend upwards of $500 a year out of pocket to cover items that the county should be supplying them with in the first place. Students and educators are both overworked and overloaded. They're pressured to work even harder than pre-pandemic conditions and are routinely expected to meet unreasonable expectations. And on the off chance they don't concede to such expectations, are usually judged harshly by administrators who, I might add, are generally underqualified for their positions. To top this point off, a majority of administrators make an oversized salary and do not work anywhere near as hard as their educators beneath them do, nor are they held to the same standard as their educators beneath them. Considering we have a shortage of teachers, nobody, administrators and this board alike, should be pressuring educators to meet such unrealistic expectations. Employers who do not respect their employees deserve not an ounce of respect in return. You are not entitled to respect, you've got to earn it. You, this board, have cultivated a toxic environment for students and educators alike where you act as judge, jury, and prosecutor while sitting on thrones of bureaucratic dissonance. Your despicably offensive failures at inclusivity and representation for marginalized groups is abhorrent, and that's aside from racist comments made by one of your board members just a couple weeks ago. And your take on mental health is a sickening band-aid to a cancer that you've allowed to grow beyond your own control. Inhale and exhale. One of my parents just died. My friend just got killed. Inhale and exhale. Hey, I'm feeling overloaded with work and exams. Inhale and exhale. Help, I was just sexually assaulted, threatened, beaten, or bullied. Well, just inhale and exhale. And you should be quiet about that. Wouldn't want that to go public, affecting the reputation of this county, one of the well-renowned counties for education, now would we? It's amazing the amount of cover-ups this county has. It's utterly astonishing. Hey, at least some of these irrational parents, wolves in sheep's clothing rather, share something in common with the district. Neither care about the health, success, or well-being of students and educators. They only care about monetary gain and outdated and downright disgusting values. You can post, hang up, or print out signs that say working as one for the success of all, but that statement means nothing until you apply it and apply it effectively. This is not the last time I or other students will attend board meetings, and I guarantee you will continue watching. As a student, you have a voice. Get up and use it. Thank you for your time.
No clapping.
Lisa Shore.
Good evening. Thank you for allowing me to speak. My name is Linda Crump. I want to apologize for speaking 2 times in a row. because I don't come here to speak unless something's really bothering me. And my topic today is books. And some things I've heard about the directions we're going in to remove and edit and censure things that are in books. I taught high school biology, and I was at the mercy of the Texas legislature, even though I didn't teach in Texas, because they're the biggest suppliers of textbooks. They removed the very first chapter of what was a wonderful book under political pressure because it was entitled Evolution. Just from its title, it was removed. I had to supplement information to help my students grasp and understand the science behind biology and to understand the interaction of organisms that we all need and live and prosper from and learn from. We have to be very, very careful in the road we're heading down, and it frightens me to hear even words removed. The other thing I'm frightened by, why I'm speaking today, is that books are also a refuge for many students who may be otherwise marginalized. They can find on the pages of those books something that helps them relate, lets them know they too are worthy, and I just want to make sure that we're not headed in a direction. I would hope as a school board that you would lobby your legislature, you would let them know how precious and important books are, and that we don't end up in a situation where we're burning and banning books. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thomas Peter.
There will be no clapping. The next time I see clapping, I'll warn you, and the second time you will be removed from this board chamber.
Good evening. My name is Daniel Cruz. I'm here to speak on the unjust treatment of a teacher in your county, Ms. Garen Schaefer. I met Ms. Schaefer nearly 20 years ago, before family, before her marriage, before she was even in this county. And even then, I knew her choices that she made, both in and out of the classroom, were only to benefit the students that she was in charge of. So much so that during my final years of high school, when I was struggling both in reading and math, her and her then fiance, Bill, chose to tutor me, even though I was no longer in their county. And because of their choice to help me, I graduated from high school. I was the first person in my family to do so. Fast forward all of these years later, I'm married, I have a son who's on the spectrum, I own a business, and I help to take care of my handicapped mother. All those things I could not have done had I not graduated. I would not be in the place that I am in life had it not been for Mrs. Schaefer's choice to step in and help. Seeing how much Ms. Schaefer has done for her students helped motivated me to start a PTSA program at my son's middle school. Taking Mrs. Schaefer out of the classroom would be a mistake. Ladies and gentlemen, the choice is yours. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Marjorie Peter.
My name is Lisa Scher, and I live in Sarasota County, and I took the pledge to stand up for public schools. I would like to share with you a moment in Black history. The Black Code, sometimes called Black laws, were laws governing the conduct of free or non-enslaved blacks. Since the colonial period, colonies and states had passed laws that discriminated against free blacks. In the South, these were generally included in slave codes. The goal was to suppress the influence of free blacks, particularly after slave rebellions, because of their potential influence on slaves. Before the Civil War, northern states that had prohibited slavery also enacted laws similar to the slave codes and the later black codes. The purpose of these black codes was to discourage free blacks from residing in those states. They were denied equal political rights, including the right to vote, the right to attend public schools, and the right to equal treatment under the law. For example, on April 1st, 1807, Ohio began legally prohibiting black people from testifying in cases involving white people as parties by enacting the following law.
Be it further enacted that no black or mulatto person or persons shall hereafter be permitted to be sworn or give evidence in any court or record or elsewhere in this state in any cause, depending or matter or controversy, where either party to the same is a white person, or in any prosecution which shall be instituted on behalf of this state against any white person. As a result, for the next 4 decades, white people could act with full impunity in filing baseless civil suits against black people barred from testifying to defend themselves and committing crimes against black people with no fear that the victim or any black witnesses would be permitted to give evidence against them. During this period, the Colored American, a black newspaper in Cincinnati, reported numerous examples of white people swindling money from black people, and also highlighted cases in which authorities failed to prosecute white on black violence, after this law kept black eyewitnesses from testifying. In 1841, after 2 white men murdered a black man named Charles Scott in his Hamilton County home, a white judge relied on the 1807 testimony law to prohibit Mr. Scott's widow, an eyewitness to the murder, from testifying at the white men's trial. Although the men were convicted after the judge admitted the testimony of a different eyewitness, whom the judge deemed white enough, under a broad interpretation of the law, Mrs. Scott was barred from helping to prosecute the men who killed her husband. The testimony law, which prioritized white supremacy over justice, was on the books for 42 years and not repealed until 1849. Thank you.
Melissa Bakandi.
Good evening. My name is Tom Peter, and I'm here because the science fair has just ended, and I was lucky enough to judge the science fair this year. It was a lot of fun. The kids were great. It was a pleasure to see the enthusiasm they had. Unfortunately, we couldn't do it in person, and it was all done through video programs and stuff. And I'm looking forward very much to next year when we can see the kids ourselves and judge them ourselves, because that interaction with the children is really unique. And that's kind of what I'm talking about tonight. Unfortunately, we didn't have really enough judges this year. And this has been a continual problem. I think we need to do a shout out to the community more, and to everybody here. If you get a chance to be able to participate in your local school as a judge, help the teachers, because they really do an outstanding job getting their kids involved in the programs. It takes a lot of time for the teachers, I know, because I was a teacher and had science fair programs. And we need to support those teachers in that effort. Parents can really help out in that area. And we need more judges for everybody to participate. You don't have to be a science expert or anything like that to do it. The grade school kids are great. I think the best thing I saw was one child who said afterwards he totally failed and his hypothesis was all wrong. He did it, it turned out to be his experiment was totally different than what he thought it was going to be, and he was all excited about that. And next year he's going to come back with a whole new set of plans. So you can really learn a lot. It's a great thing to do. I would hope people would do that. And I want to thank the board and the staff and the teachers who really went out of their way to make this happen. So thank you.
Thank you.
Nancy Dopra.
Good evening. My name's Marjorie Peter. Madam Chair, Board, Superintendent. And I judge too, but I just judge the elementary ones because I don't have an engineering degree. And it was fabulous. And the kids really rose to the occasion having to do it online. So kudos to all involved. Tonight, I just want to address one issue. I did look ahead to the agenda. Thank you for posting it online, as you always do. And I see that you've got something interesting going on with the health science program. And I just think it's thinking outside the box. I know nothing about the specifics, but just reading about it, it looks as though that you're working with Hidden Lakes and Inspired Living, some senior living healthcare centers, and letting students interact on those campuses. And to me, that's a win-win all the way around. Long-term, maybe looking at some job opportunities that the kids never thought about. From the residents' standpoint, interacting with young people. So I think it's all up, so I congratulate staff or whoever came up with exploring this idea, and I hope it does go forward on the agenda. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
John Wilson.
Melissa Bacondi. School board members, Dr. Asplin. I just wanted to say a special thank you to Shirley, Jane, and Tom for single-handedly motivating parents, concerned citizens of Sarasota, and state legislators to come together and overrule your tyrannical governing of the school district. Mr. Edwards is quoted as saying, "They're trying to be political. Every single thing that has happened in our school board has coincidentally shown up as a bill in Tallahassee." Well, yes, Mr. Edwards, thank you for highlighting your complete and utter failure to listen to your constituents and your blatant disregard for parents. We have gone above you. This is above your pay grade. And it is, in fact, the year of the parent and parental rights. We do not co-parent with the government. Now, agenda item 20. According to your own 7.7 school purchasing policy and the Florida Administrative Code, you should at least attempt 3 bids for any contract totaling more than $50,000. There are all kinds of professional learning options out there. Why pick the one that endorses BLM activist Dr. Shiroki Hawley? To remind everyone, this school board forced teachers to listen to Dr. Hawley, tell them that they were innately racist. Parents were outraged, and Dr. Asplin shut him down. Apparently, the company he is affiliated with is back at a price tag close to $400,000. This adds to distrust and the view that you are fiscally irresponsible. Agenda item 37. Since we're talking about money, this school board wants the taxpayers of Sarasota County to pass the tax referendum. But why should we? The money does not filter down to the students or teachers. Where does your hard-earned tax money go? Number 1, to exploding, unprecedented, and unsustainable legal fees. Our own school board attorney, Mr. Dan DeLeo, and Ms. Goodwin appeared on a local radio show to bash parents. Were the taxpayers billed for that time, Mr. DeLeo? $500 an hour. Were parents paying you to bash them? I guess he's not here tonight. The districts paid for gratuitous lawsuits, including the DJ case, with documents that were falsified by the current Riverview principal. What other frivolous lawsuits are coming? Other things that taxpayer money goes for, to pay staff at the school board to edit video recording of Shirley Brown violating election law. This had to be FOIA requested. This school board appears to purposely cover up their lawlessness. Number 3, sometimes Jane's pet projects get a seat at the table. Pineview spent $80 million on their expansion, while schools like Alta Vista are left with no money for renovation. We spent $700,000 on ineffective plexiglass desk dividers. And your tax money also goes to pay Dr. Harriet Moore, the Equity and Diversity Czar, to make sure all white people and teachers understand their implicit biases. I could go on and on with where your tax money goes, but let's just end with this grand finale. Sarasota County Schools is losing $12 million because Jane, Shirley, and Tom choose to purposely break the law and institute a mask mandate against the governor's order. That's right, everyone. $12 million of your hard-earned taxpayer money gone. We demand Shirley Brown, Jane Goodwin, and Tom Edwards be held personally liable for the $12 million that they are about to cost this school district for violating the governor's order. Just as the activists were allowed to stand last board meeting in solidarity,
Thank you.
I ask that everyone
That's it.
agrees.
Beaudry.
That's it.
Hi, my name is Nancy DePrey. I have understood that the board has already voted on whether Garen Schaefer should be suspended for the rest of the school year, and that's what I'm speaking about. I have known her for 9 years. I worked for the school board as an administrative assistant here at the Landings. She has been a backbone to the school board. My granddaughter had Gaucher disease, and our car broke down going up to St. Pete for an appointment. This is something that is inherited as the blood disease, and she took half a day off to drive us up there. My grandson lost his mother in 2020 and has had a very difficult time with going to school. I wanted to do Florida virtual school, and we did not have a laptop for that. So again, Mrs. Schaefer came up and gave us a laptop. She's been accused of something that there's no way she could have done this. And I wish that you could do a lie detector for Mrs. Schaefer and for the person who has accused her, and you would have a different outlook on this. She's not able to lift over 20 pounds, which she has been accused of doing to a student. And there's a doctor's note says she cannot lift more than 20 pounds. She's just unable to do that. So there's a lot of discrepancies here. And I know I've seen the teachers, the school board is asking for help for teachers, and you don't even need a certificate anymore. But I don't want to go into a school because COVID is so prevalent there among the students and the teachers. It's a very scary thing. She works for the adult education during the school year. She has worked for Sarasota County for 18 years and a total of, I forget now, 22 years or 28 years with being a teacher. 18 of that has been with Sarasota County. And I wish you would consider having her stay where she is and not suspend her for the rest of the school year. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bill Schaefer.
John Wilson. I want to start by saying I took a pledge to fight for all the kids that need their reading scores pushed up and literacy in this county. That, for me, that's what's more important than anything else. So I want to point out what equity does not look like in this county. So I've been coming to these meetings for 2 years, and in that time, gifted, arts, and sports have been honored here. But what about the children that struggled and brought their grades from F's to C's? Isn't that achievement? All right, let's look at the 2018 third grade FSA scores. 2,914 kids took the FSAs in third grade. Do you know 947 of them failed those tests? That's a third. So we are not focusing on the right place. And as far as I'm concerned, reading recovery and what you've been doing, it's not working. So we need to do something different. But we're not going to do that because, this is what an A looks like. Okay, number 3, equity does not look like unvaccinated teachers and school employees. The other thing is the equity is not, the barn, agriculture barn on McIntosh, you told them to raise $50,000 to rebuild that barn. But then we look at Pineview, and they're millions of dollars over budget. So where's the equity there? Is it because it's agriculture and it's not the arts, or they're not gifted, or they're not in sports? Let's take a look at that. What I do see here is in this district is just systemic discrimination against all the kids that are just average and the kids that can't read. That's what I see here. Nothing more, nothing less.
Thank you.
Martin Hyde.
My name is Ashton Beaudry. I originally was not going to come here tonight, but I changed my mind after I went over the agenda last night. Let's talk about the consent agenda, item number 20. After seeing the high price tag of $362,000 to hire the company named Solution Tree, I asked myself, how could the district possibly afford this when board members are downright begging for the community to vote yes to the referendum? We could utilize the DOE's recommendations of teachers' trainings and save money. To no surprise, though, this is just another woke company that promises to transform your school's culture to overcome division. I must ask, What division are we trying to overcome except the one created in the boardroom by one-sided politics? Our school is listed number 20 out of 69 districts in the state of Florida as being diverse. I then looked on Solution Tree's website workshop schedule, and turns out that they will be in Orlando on April 21st. And for $600 a ticket, you can go learn how to change the culture from your children to our children. So my next question is, how did we find this company? Well, I went to VendorLink and searched for Solution Tree. Turns out it's used in Pinellas County. The name on that contract is Kim Graves. So then I looked up, who is Kim Graves? And lo and behold, guess who I found? Mr. Holly. And guess who he works for? Solution Tree. In case you forget who he is, I will remind you. According to the Herald Tribune, Sarasota County Schools set up a $115,000 contract with author and educator Holly to hold 7 sessions of racial and cultural sensitivity training in Sarasota County's faculty and staff members. Holly was preaching for Black Lives Matter and claiming that all whites are racist. I wonder who is behind this. This isn't something that just happened to be a coincidence. Well, figuring out the answer was easy. The Herald Tribune mentions Laura Kingsley was the one who brought him back in August of 2020. The same woman who sits on the board of Reading Recovery Council of North America as a site coordinator and is very much still active in our district, our foundation world, and with Lauren Kernoff. Paying for this service is a misuse of taxpayers' money. Have a good day, Jane.
Thank you.
Madison Schaefer.
Hi, my name is Bill Schaefer. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
I can't hear you.
Sorry.
Try that. That's better. Thank you.
Is that better?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. My name is Bill Schaefer, and I want to say hello to you, ladies and gentlemen. I want you to know that I have been mentally rehearsing this speech for the past week, knowing that I would be standing here before you. And after the events that I've witnessed over the last half hour, 45 minutes, I've completely scrubbed that speech. Over the last 10 minutes or so, after Mr. Cruz and another fine lady that I don't know her name, I apologize, gave their speech in support of my wife, I overheard a couple ladies sitting in front of me saying, gee, I wonder what Ms. Schaefer did. Well, I know you know what she's been accused of, but that's not what she did. And to be honest, a couple parents at a school several years ago decided after back to school night, they didn't like Mrs. Schaefer. Another parent of a student in Ms. Schaefer's class went to Ms. Schaefer and told her, I overheard these parents talking about how they wanted to get rid of you. Within days, Ms. Schaefer was under a DCF investigation. The investigation went through, concluded after approximately 2 weeks. The claims were unsubstantiated. And then Sarasota County obviously did the right thing and made Ms. Schaefer aware of those findings 11 months later. Not 11 days, not 11 weeks, 11 months. Most recently, this past summer, she took a job doing summer school. And during an event that, again, video evidence proved nothing happened. But in the further investigation, her aides, worried that their own misdeeds would be brought to light, made up stories about Ms. Schaefer. How do we know their stories? Because what they claim Ms. Schaefer to have done, she's not physically capable of doing. And her board-certified neurologist can attest to that. But the biggest part for why I changed my speech came from you folks. Because earlier tonight, someone used the line, respect everybody's dignity. Furthermore, they said we should be featuring random acts of kindness. Is that just talk, or do you plan to walk the walk? Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Andrew Schaefer.
Well, good evening. My name is Martin Hyde, and for those of you that are constitutionally illiterate, all amendments are absolute unless you can get 3/4 of the states to ratify a change. So forget that. You're supposed to be in education. Actually talk about the truth. First off, let me say, there are 10 armed police here. 10. We had 6 shootings in Sarasota over the last 2 months, and yet you've got 10 cops here for a room full of parents. Wake up and smell the roses. Mr. Edwards, bless your heart. My card was in third, that you couldn't get it in the right order, and it just happened to be coincidentally after I told you off last week. I don't know what to tell you. Passive-aggressive doesn't work. Try aggressive, like all the big guys. Education is a weapon whose effects often depend on who holds it in his hands and at whom it is aimed. It's a quote from Stalin. Another quote, "Give me 4 years to teach the children, and the seed I've sown will never be uprooted." That was said in many occasions in different formats by Lenin. One of the main history lessons that we know, history always repeats itself. The reason I come here, and Mr. Edwards, I will continue to come here, is to stop the 3 of you attempting to indoctrinate our county's kids into your cult of woke. At the last meeting, the superintendent attempted to pass off as an innocent mistake that a new committee aimed at increasing the wokeness of the system met contrary to Florida Sunshine Law behind closed doors. His mea culpa was because they got caught breaking the law, not because he was in any way sorry. I don't buy for 1 second, and neither does anybody else, that it was a good faith error, because you have to exhibit good faith, which you and 3 of the board haven't done in a very long time. You can pull faces till you're blue in the face. We can all see that. A second violation was the misuse of a public meeting by a member of the school board, providing contact details for a cause that cannot by statute be funded by the school board. Again, we're told nothing to see here. Finally, the consequences of the folly for defying America's most popular governor over masks is about to hit the district in lost funding of up to $12 million. Senator Grutas took up the cause for the district during the legislative session, saying this district needs every penny. But that's not true, because the money will only come from executives within the school system earning over $100 grand a year, and I'm good with that. Physics 101, every action has a reaction. Parenting 101, if you don't follow through on sanctions for poor behavior, more poor behavior will follow. We need to be vigilant at every turn with a school system that says a 1% surtax for education isn't a tax increase, but a continuation of a current one.
Thank you.
Whatever.
Michelle Pazzi.
Hello, board. Oh, sorry. Hello. My name is Madison Schaefer. I'm here to talk about the topic of my mother, Garen Schaefer. And there is a vote to whether or not my mother should be put on administrative leave due to an issue that was said to occur at a summer school. My mom has done nothing but put her students first throughout her career in education. She's always done her best to provide the kids with a safe and fun environment. Her students are always her top priority. On top of that, having her be my mom has always brought a smile to my face and has always done her best to make my brother and I happy. Since no one has asked my brother or I about the supposed events that were claimed to happen, I can tell you that each claim was 100% false. We were each there during the days that the allegations were said to happen, and the rest of the ones were completely made up. Do you expect the aides that were there to say that we did the actions that were claimed upon my mother? I don't think so. And to also put into perspective, my mother cannot physically do any of the things that were said, and to say that she can is an utter lie. Thank you.
Thank you.
Alexis Spiegelman.
Good evening. I'm here.
Your name, please?
My name is Andrew Schaefer. I'm here to talk about my mother, Garen Schaefer. This previous summer, I attended summer school with my mom. One of the 3 days that she was a teacher there, and this was at Tatum Elementary. Me and my sister, we were each approved to volunteer there because we had known one of the administrators from our time that we attended Brentwood Elementary. And one day I only attended one day because I have a job as well. So I did not witness anything that she's alleged of, but I noticed that my mom's aides that were in there in the classroom with her were on their phones quite frequently. And none of this happened at all. So I understand if you think that I'm biased because she's my mom, but personally, I feel insulted because never were me and my sister ever taken into consideration to be asked of this issue. And I wasn't allowed. I wanted to help. I wanted to put my word forth, and I wasn't able to until tonight. And even though she has her doctor's note that says she can't do what she is alleged to have done, it doesn't seem to do anything. So I would recommend overturning her administrative leave simply because she's not physically capable of doing anything that she's alleged of doing. And the truth, it will come out eventually. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Melissa Radovich.
Hi, Michelle Posey, District 3. While I've enjoyed the many performances and accolades that I've seen rolled out here in the past couple months with performing arts performances, I've got to say, it feels a little like pimping out our arts program for support of our referendum. It feels all kinds of icky, and it had me left wondering a question. Why aren't our teachers' salaries the first thing we pay out of our regular operating budget? Why do we need a portion of $70 million to support our arts programs? Because I've been in performing arts for almost 20 years and have seen successful programs run for far less. Sarasota Players, Manatee Performing Arts, Charlotte County Players, all of which I've had the pleasure of being a part of. Your own HR documents from the agenda list the pay for teachers' supplement salaries who teach these programs as anywhere between $1,800 to $3,500. Something doesn't add up. What am I missing? Put these referendum dollars in a separate account where only teachers with ties to the classroom can have access, and sustain your budget like the rest of society does within an operating budget. By the way, what other company can fail their customers, shut down their consumer's voice, abuse their consumers verbally, and still extend their hand for a handout? The answer is the majority of the school board. You're tired of pandering? Well, there's lots to be tired of, because what you consider pandering to the base might politely be referred to as your job, your obligation, and your duty at the dais. It's not pandering to move an item to new business. We do not show up to go viral. Studies show you probably could go viral all on your own. As with the tantrum that took place during the workshop, without anybody in attendance on government time. The only civil discourse presented within these chambers has been from the dais. Jane says the word "I" almost as much as she says the word referendum. You think you operate an authority that gives you the ability to choose camera angles in a room funded by us, from a seat funded by us, speaking through a microphone paid for by us, discussing cameras that we likely bought. Maybe it's a waste of time to discuss camera angles, but the majority of this dais are experts at wasting time and money. Public comment times have taken up more agenda time than any singular academic peace in the last 6 months. We spent months looking for ways to break the law, only to tuck your tail and realize that the peanut gallery ain't buying the rhetoric and corruption any longer. Taking our fight to the state level is nothing new. When you break the law and try to silence constituents, we will no doubt engage legislatures to get involved. One might think, with all your lobbying background, Mr. Edwards, you would not be so appalled at how the system works. Or are you just appalled that it worked? Again, we're not going anywhere anytime soon. It's only just begun. And in the words of Sarah Palin, you know the difference between a pit bull and a mom? Lipstick.
Thank you.
Robert Keston.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Alexis Spiegelman. I am the Sarasota County Chapter Chair of Moms for Liberty. Recently, Ms. Brown and Mr. Edwards seemed very troubled about some of the bills that are making their way through the Florida legislature. I hope to quell some of the fears expressed by Ms. Brown and Mr. Edwards and address some of the incorrect ways in which a couple of the pieces of legislation were represented. Of course, everyone can read the full text of the bills being considered this session by visiting myfloridahouse.gov. Ms. Brown implied that one of the bills, HB 7, Individual Freedom by Representative Brian Avila, would in some way harm teachers, when in fact it offers teachers, students, and families protections from indoctrination such as CRT and employing training such as white fragility, the white fragility training that we saw making rounds around the same time as the brain pop fiasco. The Individual Freedom Bill is sponsored by Representative Brian Avila. His parents fled communist Cuba in search of political freedom. Representative Avila describes this bill as an effort to expand civil rights protections from being distorted by movements. He states that in Florida and across America, we can all agree that all people are created equal, and every person, regardless of their race, sex, religion, or any other quality, is entitled to their dignity as an individual. Now, some movements threaten to take us backwards, asking us to consider people not as individuals, but as groups, assigning certain groups as experiences to people based on the group that they fit into and not their individual experience. This bill would protect individuals from being held responsible for someone else's behavior due to something that they have no control over, such as race, color, sex, or national origin. Ms. Brown's, this bill is designed to protect the individual rights of teachers and students. Another bill that is being misrepresented by the left is HB 1557, Parental Rights in Education. As is so often the case, the leftist radicals shrieking moral outrage and charges of bigotry are wildly overblown and not based in reality. Does the proposed Florida law really prohibit the discussion of sexual orientation and gender identity? As Twitter's trending topics put it, no, it doesn't. Quoting from the actual bill text, it simply prohibits a school district from encouraging classroom discussion about sexual orientation or gender identity in primary grade levels, or in a manner that isn't age appropriate. Under the bill, the school districts would adopt procedures that notify a student's parents of specified information, reinforce the fundamental rights of parents to make decisions about their child's upbringing, and prevent personnel from withholding specified information from parents. All of these things should be standard operating procedure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Carol Lerner.
Hi, my name's Melissa Radovich, and first of all, I just want to say how extremely offensive it is to say that these moms and dads come here to trend on social media or to make a video. We're missing softball games, soccer games, cooking dinners. We're missing time with our families. Why? Because you make us come here to express our anger in some of the things you're doing. We don't come here for fun. We actually have kids in our schools, and we can't be with them because we care so much about them. we have to come here and do this twice a month. So that comment just extremely offensive. Secondly, I'd like to know why you need to spend $362,000 for training and coaching offered by the Solution Tree based out of California. They advertised that they develop schools into anti-racist strongholds. Is that really what our schools need to focus on? Is there data showing that that's what our kids need? That's crucial in Sarasota, because I don't see that. And if somebody with the stickers, if they want to come tell me a story, I would love to have a conversation. But Black history is American history, absolutely. But I thought everybody knew that. It is. So please explain that to me if I'm missing something. I just don't understand the need for all of this. The Solution Tree, they have a workshop in April to build a culture from the inside out. They focus on culture as opposed to traditional educational necessities. Their workshop focuses on teaching how to move my kids to our kids. My kids will never belong to you, so you can stop all that craziness. Social and emotional learning is the latest craze in progressive education. It assumes the role of parents to teach kids how to think and feel about life. These programs are designed to influence our children in the name of social justice, and they undermine parents and their role. SEL is meant to shift the school culture. It's not just one class a parent can opt out. It teaches children to be emotionally driven instead of giving them logic and facts. SEL is groupthink and indoctrination. And it amazes me that you want to reintroduce this type of consulting into our schools, spending $362,000, while at the same time asking us to vote yes to your referendum to keep our districts A rating and give you more of our money. I don't know about that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Robert Keston. I'm here in, excuse me, in a unique capacity in the sense that I'm relatively new to Sarasota, and this is the first time I've not watched a board meeting through a screen, but decided to come down here. I moved to Sarasota because I'm bringing a project that hopes to bring the 75th anniversary celebrations of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights to Sarasota and make it a world capital for human dignity. Today was not necessarily an example of that, but I just wanted to say that the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which was approved in 1948, was championed, and the committee that delivered it was chaired by Eleanor Roosevelt, who vacationed in Siesta Key from 1930 to 1960. In that time, from 1948 to 1960, she went into the public schools and met with students and talked about the Declaration. Today, I haven't found pretty much anybody in Sarasota that knows that there is a declaration or has ever read it. That was kind of surprising since people are talking about rights. But unless you know what your rights are, it's questionable if you have them or if you understand that your rights begin and end where someone else's rights begin and end, simply because you do not have a right ever to abuse someone else's rights, even to claim your own. In our effort to bring the anniversary here, we also hope to turn Sarasota into the first human rights county in the United States. It's not political. There's no politics, and in fact, elected officials are not asked to join. It is for the organizations that people have already self-selected to answer their needs. So any organization operating in the county that has met the bar of answering the needs of people, regardless of anything that it believes or says, can join. So I hope that the people here will take advantage of that opportunity. The Declaration was founded in 1948 as a response to the Second World War and the Holocaust, as a way to allow people to share commonalities, speak the same language, and work out their differences and live in a civil society, even with those people they vehemently disagree with. After today, I'm hoping that Sarasota will take that opportunity to heart and come and learn about the Declaration, what it does, and find a way to live together in a way that enhances life here, even with the people you vehemently disagree with. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Carol Lerner. I'm here representing Protect Our Public Schools and Support Our Schools. I'm here tonight to stand up for Sarasota schools and express my enthusiasm for tonight's powerful Black History Month program and my support for the idea that Black history is American history. Tonight, I would like to address an issue that is particularly important for students of color and their families, as well as for English language learners, ESE students, low-income students, and others. That issue is how to close the achievement gap, better phrased as the opportunity gap. While there is no easy silver bullets, I think one important step is happening at tonight's board meeting with the posting for the hiring of a director of preschool. As Dr. Asplin has stated, many children arrive in kindergarten behind in pre-reading skills and never catch up. I recently watched a documentary, No Small Matter, which boldly addressed this gap by illustrating the impact of high-quality early childhood experiences and the importance of family supports. The documentary focused on what we could be doing and should be doing, but are not doing as a nation, a state, and a local community. The first 1,000 days of life is when 80% of a child's brain development occurs. If we don't provide the right supports to families and children, we create a situation that has a lifelong impact on child's learning. Please watch this video. After viewing this video, a group of POPS members got together to discuss it. In this group, we had members who had considerable experience in early childhood education as teachers, social workers, myself included. We also had one woman who had worked for the U.S. Defense Department, teaching in 4 different countries. She said that the U.S. is 35th in the world when it comes to quality early childhood care, and by far the worst in all the countries she taught, including developing countries. The U.S. Defense Department understands the importance and has developed high-quality model infant and preschool programs. After a thorough discussion of what Sarasota needs, we concluded that the school district should create high-quality public preschool programs for all 3- and 4-year-olds, with a director who understands the unique learning needs of preschoolers and the importance of play-based learning. We also would like to see a coordinated effort with local physicians and area hospitals to identify pregnant women who need and would like support, and to expand the first 1,000-day Suncoast programs and parent education programs like 40 Carrots. We also discussed how creating community partnership schools could be an important way to integrate families with infant and young children into the school community and offer family supports. So once again, I applaud the hiring of a director of preschool as an important first step in closing the opportunity achievement gap by expanding quality early childhood programs.
And that concludes the hearing of citizens, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Edwards. Thank you all for what you had to say. We listened intently, and we did listen, and we will take heart to what you said. Next up, we'll return to our agenda, and we have the item number 5, additions or corrections to the agenda. Do we have any, Dr. Asplin?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. The February 8th work session minutes were added to item number 7, approval of minutes. Also, one addendum was added to item number 8, the instructional classified personnel report. And then item number 32 has been pulled for a future agenda. This item is the agreement and resolution authorizing the exchange of real property on 17th Street with Sarasota County.
May I have a motion, please?
I move the approval of the consent agenda as amended.
May I have a second?
Second.
Mrs. Ziegler.
Yes, I spoke with Dr. Asplin earlier, and I know a number of members of the public spoke today at public comment, but I had also received a number of people reaching out to me to item number 20. as I've done more research and I would like to move it to new business. So I'd like to move item number 20 to new business.
Mrs. Rose?
Yes, I would like to reinforce what Board Member Ziegler just stated and move item number 20 to new business for the same reasons, please.
All right, so we have that to move to new business. Do we need to vote on that? I think we probably need to vote. All those in favor of moving item number 20 to new business, would you signify by saying aye?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? So the motion carries unanimously. I don't think I said anything, but I was confused.
May I?
I think I have to redo my last motion, so I move.
I think you need to move, yeah, we need to redo the motion, is correct.
I move the consent agenda as amended and item 20 being moved to new business.
I have a second.
Second.
Any discussion?
Please.
Mrs. Rose?
I'm just looking for clarification from our attorney, as in I understood him to say that any board member had the authority in order to fulfill their job responsibility to move an item. So I would respectfully ask for clarification of where a vote comes into that, please.
The vote is for the purpose of orderliness. I think that, as I stated before, that it would be improper to curtail an elected official from expressing his or her opinion on any individual agenda item. That wouldn't be trumped by the desire to keep the agenda in an orderly and customary fashion.
So the vote matters or doesn't matter if it would have been, I'm just looking to understand.
It depends. I mean, there are a number of customs that we have that are for the sake of orderliness, but that don't ultimately have the force of law on us. So, if the motion had failed, I was prepared to leap to my feet and say, hold the phone. Let these people talk about this consent agenda item that they don't like.
Thank you for the clarification.
Madam Chair.
So we can now, Bridget Ziegler.
I just wanted to offer a solution. When I look at the consent, when I look at the numbers and flow of the agenda, item number 5 is approval of corrections to consent agenda, which is typically the superintendent.
Correct.
But for future items, in the event there could be the opportunity at that point before those motions are made of saying, are there any additional items, et cetera.
We will do that next time, but right now we will go ahead and vote on this and then move item number 20 to the new business. Okay, so can we have our vote? Mrs. Tompkins, can we have a voting? I'm not getting it. Is everybody else getting it?
Refresh.
You have to vote. You might have to we have to vote again? Oh.
So,
I just tried to refresh. Okay, I got it now. All right, sorry. So everyone, please vote.
on approval of please clarify what we're voting on.
We're voting for the consent agenda as amended and with the item number 20 moved to new business.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm trying to do it.
It gets a little confusing, doesn't it?
Yes.
And that motion passes.
I couldn't get mine to work. I am a yes on that.
You have to refresh it.
Okay, well, it's not up there to refresh right now, so, computer. Bingo.
And the motion carries unanimously. Up next, we have new business. So this next question is, where do we put number 20?
Yeah, I think we move it to the end and we
Yeah, I
go
think
with
we move
item
it- I
36
think we
as
move
was
it-
printed.
Yeah, I think we move it to the end. So, moving right along to new business.
Item 36, I move the approval of the changes to the instructional and classified bargaining unit contracts effective for the school year 2021-22.
Second.
Any discussion? Jody Dumas. Are you on?
If I may, while he's trying to get his microphone to work, as you know, Jody Dumas is our lead negotiator for our school district
And COO.
and COO, and he and Mitzi and others make up that team. They did a great job this year, and I just wanted him to summarize this particular item.
Thank you, Dr. Asplund, for the opportunity to comment on. Actually, items 36 and 37 are both related to our bargaining this year as a team. And so certainly I am one member of the team, and you had a team that worked really hard on behalf of the district. Mitzi Corcoran, our CFO, her last bargaining session this year, she reminded us every session. Dr. Allison Foster, Al Hereda, Danielle Schweid, Aaron Del Castillo, and Chad Erickson from Bayhaven. Really a wonderful negotiating team, and certainly that was with input from the entire administrative staff here sitting before you today looking at items. But let me tell you a little bit about the process. We're very proud of where we are. This has been a really difficult year, and I think what you see in front of you is not only some salary adjustments, but also some contract language that really, number one, supports the strategic plan the superintendent is putting into place, but really rewards our staff for going above and beyond in a couple of really difficult years, certainly this last year being that. Being able to move classified salaries up closer to what the market will bear so that we can attract people to the best place to work in Sarasota County, which is the school district, then being able to offer to teachers a starting salary of $50,000. That coupled with Dr. Foster's team in HR to be able to recruit out throughout not only the state of Florida, but the United States is going to be wonderful, bringing the very best to Sarasota County Schools. So with that, I'd like to thank the team for being awesome members of the team, but certainly this was not a year where we would open the entire language package, but in collaboration with SCTA, and I got to thank Pat Gardner, president of SCTA, Barry Dubin, the entire SCTA negotiating team. It was really a collaborative process, not easy conversations, sometimes difficult conversations, but I think at the end, we got in a place where we were able to change a lot of contract language to support, again, the strategic plan and do things that are good for students and good for our employees. So very, very proud of what's in front of you today, and thank you for the opportunity to be part of that team.
Thank you, Mr. Dumas. Shirley Brown.
My comments probably go more to 37 than to this. You know, we've probably all heard some from some of our employees that, you know, it was tough and we weren't supporting them. You know, I want to assure our employees we supported them all the way, as did our team. One of the problems was, how are we going to follow the law that told us that we had to pay our new teachers more, up to $47,500, and we also had to pay those teachers on the performance schedule, again, the newer ones, not the grandfathered ones, more money for being highly effective. I think it was 25% more for those teachers that were highly effective than the grandfathered teachers that were highly effective. We all agreed that we wanted to do something to increase the teachers' salaries, but to comply with what the state had and what the union was saying that we had to do and what we were saying we have to follow the law, it was a problem. You came up with a rather outside of the box, and hopefully it'll pass muster by putting it all in supplements, not under their salaries, but the supplement they'll still get their retirement benefits from and all of that. But to some extent, we've kicked it down the can down the road that we're going to have to adjust this next year when we go try to put it on the salaries. From what I'm hearing in Tallahassee, this might be a good time to do it next year because they're looking at giving us more money. And the $2 an hour that we're giving the classified I think is right in line with what I'm hearing coming out of Tallahassee too. I mean, because they are looking at putting more money into the non-instructional dollars, because a lot of the dollars that they've given us so far only went to instructional dollars, that $500 million. And there even was some talk about having a $15 an hour minimum wage. I don't know if that's going to work or that's going to come through, but I think it's something we're all looking for. We just have to be able to come to terms on how we do that next year. And I really support what you've done, and I want to assure our employees we all supported them. We know they've had a hard time, and that's why we ended up with this settlement. Thank you.
I would also like to add, the president of SCTA, Pat Gardner, texted me, and I know, Ms. Goodwin, you got the same text. It was ratified by the employees. Instructional, 99% of the teachers voted, instructional staff voted in support of the agreement, the contract changes in the salary. And then for classified, it was 97%. So overwhelmingly support from the employees for the contract. So,
Thank you all. Thank you to the team and for the hard work that you've done. And to all of our staff and our teachers, thank you for the hard work that you're doing. We understand that and we do support you. So if there are no other discussions, please vote. And the motion carries unanimously. It's wonderful.
I move item 37, the approval of the 2021-22 salary schedules for the bargaining unit and non-bargaining and temporary substitutes for the school year that'll carry into the 2022-23 school year.
Second. Any discussion? This again is part of what we are discussing now. Mrs. Ziegler.
Thank you. Well, I was going to go to speak to both these two back to back, but I wanted to wait. So I think first I want to thank the team for working through this. I think it's all very clear that these past 2 years have been incredibly hard for our educators. More than actually, I would argue this past year was, the first year of COVID was the dress rehearsal, and this current year, was really the real deal, where it was incredibly challenging when you're dealing with staffing. I know we had gotten rid of remote, but the attendance aspects, the emotions being very high on all different elements, but all the meanwhile trying to make sure that we're focused on the instructional aspect of it. And speaking to the last item and this one as well, it is my opinion, I'm very proud to be in this district where we can provide a competitive salary to our educators. Kudos to this district having kind of been above that level anyway, which did not require, I know other districts are not in that same spot, so it's taking a much larger leap to get to that base salary, 47.5, that the district, that the state wants us to move towards for new teachers. But I want to speak a little to some of the contractual language, but also, in my opinion, and I think this, and I say this a lot, is, the salary is absolutely important. People need to be able to pay their bills. They need to be, live a healthy life, but as well as it's not just the fixed cost of the salary that someone is getting, but it's the environment and the supports that they're getting. And so through that, sometimes it's through contractual language, it's certainly through benefits. And those are the things that I think I take very near and dear to my heart, whether it be ancillary, childcare, et cetera, or we go into like the healthcare program. I think, again, is something that I'm very proud that this district's able to offer, which is incredibly competitive, that many other districts don't offer that. And then that fixed salary piece. And then as we move forward, I'm going to continually go back to this as that supporting component, and that it isn't just the salary, but it's also the additional human capital that's there to lift that burden and allow our amazing educators to do the work that they are there to do, that is effective, quality, high quality education. And so I want to, moving forward, want to really make sure we hone in on our budgetary aspects to what now outside of the contractual and bargaining piece is providing those supports for our teachers so that not only do they love their job, they feel supported and they are also effective. So I'm looking forward to that conversation in the future.
Please vote. And the motion carries unanimously. Next up is item number 38. May I have a motion?
move the approval of the new job description for Director of Preschool.
May I have a second?
Second.
Well, I would like to kick this off by saying this is a really important item for me. Personally, I have worked with pre-K and our pre-K program that we have at Goshio for some years. I know the value of this work with youngsters. I know Mr. Wilson has really interested in reading, but boy, the earlier we can get students and the earlier that we can have them develop a love of learning and a ability to achieve and excel, the better they'll be at third grade in reading and learn to read and then read to learn. And that is really what this is all about. And I've seen so many children who have exceptional stories that they would not have had they not have the 4-year-old program. So I think it's vitally important. We know that 2 years ago, a lot of parents didn't send their children to kindergarten, and they stayed home. And they don't have to go to school until first grade. So we did miss some students, and those were missed all over the state of Florida. So I think we're going back, we're getting things back in order, and I find this to be a really exciting situation. Our strategic plan is aligned in so many ways, and this will give us that upper support for all of our programs because we already have a number of classrooms. What do we have now, Dr. Asplin? 36?
Yeah, we're at 38 at the moment.
38 classrooms. So this will expand that considerably. Mrs. Rose.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to add that I'm not a strong advocate of adding administrators in that they are not directly in front of students in classrooms. However, in this situation, I fully support a lead for adding and building pre-kindergarten and reinforcing what you said, Madam Chair, having been a teacher for over 12 years in elementary school. It is very, very clear that our kindergartners are entering school with huge diversity, and having moved for the second half of my career into middle school, we are not doing the kind of quality job that I know we can do with adding and focusing in on pre-kindergarten. We're not closing that gap, and we've got middle schoolers and high schoolers that are behind. So I am so behind this initiative of wrapping our arms around pre-kindergarten classrooms, getting in front of learning, and assuring that we can do a very good job at getting our kindergartners at grade level to move to first grade. So I very much support this position and the data monitoring and the success that this director will bring to this board in what our goals are.
Mrs. Ziegler.
Yes, thank you. So I am a huge advocate of early education and understand the impact it can have on the trajectory of a child's academic success. I know Dr. Asplin has heard me push hard when it comes to, or push back hard on certain adding in additional administrative positions. I think to myself is the farther away, and I think many administrators have actually told me this, but the farther away you get from the classroom, there's an element where it makes it harder to really take that and push and pull through it to make that impact. I think we've seen successful models from the school-based level and driven in that way. Goshio is a great example and has such a strong buy-in by the principal there. And so, however, I understand that the model that was mentioned to me by Dr. Asplin was also done in at St. John's, and that there was a lot of success for that. And I understand there's a lot of moving parts, and so I will support this, and I'm very eager to see incredible positive outcomes as we move forward for our students. So,
Mrs. Brown.
Yes, I totally agree with Ms. Ziegler and Ms. Rose and Ms. Goodwin. I had the opportunity to be in a pre-K classroom this morning, Ms. Murray's class over at Alta Vista. And having a kindergarten teacher, I know some of those tests that they ask these kids when they come in that they need to know. Are these kids ready for school? Do they understand over, under, in, and out. Can they recognize letters? Can they stand in a line? When I was picking out my book today for the Black History Month that the Alta Vista always has the read-in, I was looking and there was some on Rosa Parks and this, and I said, but I'm doing a pre-K class. I'm not sure they're going to understand all that. So I picked up a book, one of my favorites, Going on a Lion Hunt. And I took her class on a lion hunt. Any of you who've ever done this, maybe if you had kids, you probably, going on a lion hunt, gonna find a big one. But I'm not afraid. And then they come into, oh, there's a river and you can't go over it, can't go under it, can't go around it, got to go through it, and you go splish splash. And they run into other things like the tall grass and things like that. But, I mean, they were having fun, but they all understood over, under, and around and through. We got through that. But we really, and at the end, we all got a big hug. And let me tell you, there were no children or animals hurt on our lion hunt today. But these kids really impressed me. And those kids are going to have so much better life and experience because they already know some of those basics that they've got to know when they get to kindergarten. So when they get to kindergarten, they can be into writing their names and learning their numbers and adding and things like that. It's so important, and I know that's what makes St. John's #1 in the state, and I definitely hope that by us adding more pre-K classes, that it'll get us closer to that #1 and over that number one day. Thank you.
Thank you. Please vote. And the motion passes unanimously. May I have a motion for item number 39?
I request approval of the request from legal counsel to schedule a private meeting and advice concerning safety and security.
Second. Any discussion? Please vote. And the motion carries unanimously. Next item is item number 20. May I have a motion?
I move the approval of the agreement between Solution Tree, Inc. and the School Board of Sarasota County.
Second.
Mrs. Rose.
Thank you, Madam Chair. At this time, I'm not going to support this agenda item in that I've had many conversations with Dr. Asplin about bringing our community together. And in my years in this district, that occurs by not bringing pieces forth that have controversy associated with them. That's how I was trained and mentored as a teacher and as a principal, and it works. I'm not saying that I'm for or against anything that's occurring in this training. I'm saying that anything that comes forth that brings immediate controversy comes with it trust issues, and predictability of how successful that we can be. I also aware of the decades of training that we've put into this district in the expansive premier professional organizations, consultants, and trainers that are available. Doug Fisher comes to mind with the work that he extensively did in developing professional learning communities in a lot of our schools and the wealth that was put into that. I very much, I'm not going to say if this had appropriate vetting and transparency for our entire community to understand it. in that there was departmental collaboration from curriculum to schools to where we are united and very clear in what the intention of this is, that in the long run, I absolutely cannot say that I would not support it, but as it stands right now, it's not something that I can support or will because of the immediate controversy it initiated. Thank you for the opportunity.
Mrs. Ziegler.
Yes, thank you. I would agree with a lot of the sentiments that Mrs. Rose mentioned. I think, I believe, first of all, I think the value of PLCs, and as was mentioned here, is incredibly important. I think that we have a great group of staff and educators that are here to really work through and with intention. And I think at the same time, that's where we need to be looking at this as well. When we do any vetting, and again, I would share that I don't know, I can't speak one way or the other. There are some things that I identified that are concerning. I'm not quite sure if that would fall into our district's contractual agreement and the services they'd be provided. But in this moment, as we build unity and try to work together, some things may require additional intentional thought and discussion to overcome those hurdles. And so for that reason, I won't be supporting it.
Mrs. Brown.
I wasn't aware of any controversy on this item. I didn't hear anything from anyone, but I'm not sure if, it would be out of line for Dr. Aspin or Dr. Renoff to speak to that. I'm not sure what the controversy is or what the answer is to it.
You want me to go
Dr. Asplin, let's have a word from you,
no,
please. And then Tom. Or you want to go first, Tom?
No, Dr. Aspin.
Mr. Renoff, if you could please come up, I'd appreciate it.
Solution Tree, yes, Solution Tree is a big education company, and it was formed by Dr. Dufour, who created the professional learning communities concept, and he formed Solution Tree, and this was over 30 years ago. And I understand the controversy, I do, and I know Ms. Rose and I have talked about that, I get that. At the same time, my job as your superintendent, and I was hired here to move this district forward. Professional learning communities is so very important. This is going to be a way of work for all of our educators. And we have a design team, and I know Mr. Renoff will speak to that in just a moment. Our design team was made up of our school district administrators. We also had principals involved in that. I worked with Solution Tree or PLCs in Seminole County, and I worked with them all the way through St. Johns County. And one thing I will tell you about St. Johns County is, yes, for 11 years in a row, ranked number one in the state. That's difficult to keep that ranking. As anybody knows, everybody's after you, and you could fall off that number one ranking at any time. So to stay there and continue to move forward and to move our overall points forward and our students to still make incredible gains even beyond what they did the year before and the year before and the year before that, I credit that to mainly professional learning communities. And if you talk to the teachers there, it's not an administrative thing. It's not, the administrators aren't pushing that. The teachers love it so much because it's a smarter way of work and they work together. It's collaboration. And they want that every single day. And they meet probably every single day in most cases. And they look at things like creating common formative assessments, common summative assessments, those daily assessments that they can analyze and understand how their students are doing and what they need to work on as they create their small instructional groups with their students of 3 to 5 students. That's where the learning occurs. And so when we talk about reading and we talk about math and we want to move that forward and have our students be successful and read by 3rd grade, it is so very important for our teachers to work together and want to work together to do those things that I just mentioned so that we are individualizing the instruction.
And that's how you do that. And you have to have your teachers collaborating together on all those items. Solution Tree and the PLC process does that. And I think it's very, very important. And I highly recommend that we pass this, because this is in our strategic plan. This is a foundation to our strategic plan in moving everything forward, because everything we do in that strategic plan is going through this lens of collaborative learning, working together. And that piece about, the my student to our student, what that has to do with is going from a teacher in isolation saying my students to working together with other teachers to say our students. So we can even share students to help each other with our strengths as teachers to help our students learn what they need to learn. So there's a lot to this. And beyond the controversy, you need this in this district. Whether you fire me tonight or not, or whatever you want to do, you need this in this district to move forward. And I highly recommend that you move forward with this. It is going to cost $362,000. We're using ESSER dollars. Thank heavens the ESSER dollars are there to help us move this forward. But we do need to move it. We do need to move it forward. And I want to turn it over to Mr. Renoff to just talk to you, and Ms. Asplin to talk to you about the design team, and then where we move forward with our guiding coalition teams as we spread this across our district with our teachers. So, Mr. Renoff.
Is that working?
Let's try that. There you go. So again, thank you for the opportunity to come before you tonight. I did ask Ms. Asplin to come up here as well because she is a strategy lead, as you saw in our last school board workshop. And so basically, this is a cornerstone of our strategic plan. It is a way of work. We talk about, working as one for the success of all. It's just not a logo. It's not just a saying. It's about how we actually go about it. We talk about teachers and how much they've had to endure over the last couple of years. We need to be in this work together, and it's about focusing a collective focus on learning together, working together, listening to one another, solving problems, and then ultimately with a collective focus on success for every single student. Solution Tree is a proven company out there, hands down. Trust the process. That is their motto. Trust the process, and it works. We have seen it. We've studied it. We're going to visit a model district in Georgia to go ahead and see it. They have a playbook. They've shared it with us. We know that this is something that can absolutely move the needle for all of our students and for our educators, because again, we can't work any harder than we are. We can't force folks to do any more. We just have to work smarter together, collaboratively, and own it together for our kids. I've asked Mary Ellen to come up because as the strategy lead, she and Carol K. Brown, who couldn't be here tonight, they've assembled a design team. I wanted you to hear a little bit about that design team, how it came together, and what the vetting process was to get us to where we are today.
Thank you, Mr. Renoff. Good evening, Board, Madam Chair, and Mr. Superintendent. So I believe there's a little bit of a misunderstanding about what a PLC is. So I would like to start with that. It is not SEL. That is not the focus. The key focus of professional learning communities is the teacher, and the teachers coming together to work together, and their focus is the standards and coming as one to work and figure out what they need to do for students. There are 4 key questions when forming a PLC. Number 1, what do we want students to know? That focuses on the standards. How will we know they know it? That is the common assessment and the review of the data. What will we do if they do not know it? That is intervention. And what will we do if they do know it? That's extension. So that is what it's about. I believe there was a question about the vetting. We did attend Doug Fisher and Nancy Frey, and just as a historical note, I don't know if everybody knows this, but Doug Fisher and Nancy Frey came out of Solution Tree under Rick and Becky DeFore before they passed away. And then they broke off and they created PLC Plus, and the plus was an equity piece. And we did go and we watched that. We spent a lot of time. We had personal sessions with them. We then had sessions with our cabinet members with them. And then we did the same process with Solution Tree, the original PLC model. And it was unanimous that everyone on the design team said this is the best model because the model of Solution Tree is standards and the focus on that and intervention and making sure students succeed. So that's how we got to this place. We believe it is a good recommendation, and I shared with the board at the workshop last week. I can speak from experience. I was in St. Johns County, and it is a key reason why we had, and I hate to correct Dr. Asplin, 12 years of number one. And we do want Sarasota to be that. And I'm passionate about it because it works. This is not a hidden agenda. There's nothing political about it. It's about students and it's about their success. So if you have seen the Fisher's work, please look at this and you will see that the outcomes are really impressive. A guiding coalition is formed that is the core of a PLC model in a district. First, there will be a district guiding coalition, which will be led by Mr. Renoff, but Dr. Asplin will sit on it as well, and district leadership within different departments. But the key part of it is every principal will sit on that. And those principals will come and we'll talk and we will see what are the challenges, what are the barriers, what are they dealing with personally at their schools. And then we will work through those together, and then they will go back to their schools. And the schools are formed of guiding coalitions. And those guiding coalitions have the teachers on them. And they are about the work for that specific school and what that school needs and what the students in that school will need. And this is a difference maker because it's not just 3 people making a decision. It's not just the district office making a decision. It's down to the schoolhouse.
And so, and if I may bring up the controversy of Shiraki Holly, he is not involved in this whatsoever. I'm not sure where the picture came from. I did talk to them again, and they said, yeah, he worked on a book 20 years ago with a couple of other folks, but he is an independent contractor. He has his own business, and I know there's some districts who will ask some of these large companies, who would be a good person for this or who would be a good person for that. And in those cases, Shiraki Holly is someone who will train certain districts in something that they want. But Shiraki Holly has nothing to do with this. We have our own trainers that we have seen. They align with our standards. They align with our values in our school district. Heck, I'm the one that put the shutdown Shiraki Holly to begin with, so it doesn't even make sense why I would do anything that has anything to do with him. He's not involved in this. Trust me. You know what I need? I need for people to start trusting us as educators and what we're trying to do here, and we hear you, and we're trying to align with what everybody wants to do. And I think this aligns, but that controversy is just minimal in my mind. It has nothing to do with anything that we're trying to do, and he will not be part of anything. And we have great trainers who are going to help us out with our our solution tree and professional learning communities training. So, Mr. Renoff, did you want to?
I just want to echo that. The vetting process went beyond just looking at one model or another on one company versus another. It's truly digging, peeling the layers back. And I got to tell you, if you talk to Solution Tree right now, they would say, wow, I don't know that we've ever been vetted as difficult and as challenged as we have been by Sarasota County, because we wanted to make sure who those presenters were, what were their experiences. When they come talk to our leaders and our teachers, we want to make sure that that message is clear. And it's a unifying message. It is about all of us working together as one for the success of all of our kids. So again, looking forward to it. Again, I appreciate the public's comments. I appreciate your comments. But bottom line is, in the end, it is a cornerstone of our strategic plan. And boy, I certainly hope we can move forward with this.
Thank you, Mr. Renoff, Ms. Asplin. I appreciate that. And if I can just say one other thing that came up today, just so that everyone is clear, I just want to make sure that we have clarity. We're trying to be as transparent about everything all the time. And one of the questions was, don't you need to have three resources or three different companies that you vet or ask for a request for proposal, RFP, and let me see. Just so everyone is clear, 6A.1.012 in our purchasing policies, the requirement for requesting competitive solicitations for commodities and contractual services from three or more sources is hereby waived as authorization by section and then a bunch of numbers 1010.04. When is it waived? It's waived in what we do as educators every single day. We are looking to purchase district school board educational services. When that happens, it is waived. It's not like, in Mr. Dumas's court where, when we're building schools, we're doing some things where we have to get our quotes. We don't need to do that when it's educational services, and we vet these companies, and we do what's right by the education side of our school district, which is helping our students and our teachers to educate our students as best as possible with the materials that we have and the training and services that we have. So that is waived, and that's why we did that. We're not trying to skirt anything. We're not trying to brush anything under the rug. We're not trying to do anything that's not transparent. Everything you just heard is what we've been thinking about and doing for the last couple of months as we create the strategic plan. We just need to move forward. And the only way to do that is to allow us to do that. So I highly recommend that we pass this.
Mr. Edwards.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to start by quickly apologizing for a comment that I had thrown back at me about 37 times tonight. I didn't mean to be offensive in terms of suggesting that people were going viral. The parents that are here tonight and many that I have met and spoken to are very concerned. Sometimes we disagree, but I understand. But many of the people that have been here have been people trying to go viral, and they're not representative of the parents. So I apologize if someone took that personal. It was not my intention. Secondly, before I go on to talk about Dr. Asplin, I want to say the best thing I heard tonight after our students in the room celebrating and being in front of our students, that's what we're all here for, and the kumbaya that goes with education and enjoying the students in the room. After Jennifer Cottrell, that was the best comment that I heard tonight about us working together. Parents working together. I took that to heart, Jennifer. Thank you for that comment. And for tonight's conversation, let me be the first one to say my phone number is on the district, my email is there, and I would welcome many of you I have relationships with. I've called you, you've called me, we've answered back and forth. Let's keep that going. But I don't know if you all mean to do this, but when you call it a controversy, that adds to the divisiveness. That really does. Because at the end of the day, I'm not an educator. And I know that Dr. Asplin was brought here specifically because he was part of a district that, thank you, Mrs. Asplin, 12 years, number one. And he was brought here to do that. And so maybe there was some misunderstanding, but when it comes to adding administration, or I look for redundancies, because the hierarchy that exists today will not be the hierarchy that will be here 2 years from now, because it will be outdated and outmoded. So what we have to do is a constant re-engineering, capturing those dollars, exiting programs that aren't working, recapture those dollars, and redeploy and hire the right admin into our community. And more than, I know this, I don't mean to be divisive, but I hear so much more positive about what we're doing than the controversy that comes here in public comments. And so when I get defensive, it's because I'm defending what I know is the right stuff. The things that we are doing so well that gives us our A, and Dr. Asplin and his plans are going to take us to that next level. So for that, I hope, and he used the key word, and I'm going to back him, trust him. I'm going to support it.
You done? I am. Well, I want to say something before I call on Mrs. Brown again. I just want to say that I support this. And here's the thing. I'm not an educator. I was at one time, long time ago. I've always considered myself to be an educator. But when I wanted Dr. Asplin to be our superintendent, I chose him because I thought his credentials were impeccable. I go back to 2010 and Common Core coming in and using Doug Fisher and Nancy and going through some of the trainings. We had a wonderful middle school executive director at the time, Paige Detman, who always brought me into the trainings and so forth that we were having, and I always got put on the spot and looked foolish because I couldn't remember my algebra and things like that. But I thought they were fabulous. They did a great job for us and helped us transition into a new standard. I think this is powerful. I understand PLCs enough to know that this is what we need. The collaborative, it's connective tissue. As Deborah Jacobs would always say, it's connective tissue, and it will give us the connective tissue we need so that our teachers feel part of a community. And, you know, it's the same thing with small learning communities for students. Those work beautifully. And I was reminded of small learning communities by a young man that was on the podium with us at Tiger Bay the other day. But I would say that I will support this. I would look at and be very careful in my selection if this was not done by a group of very positive educators who know what they're doing. And I trust you and I trust them to do the right thing. And this is a really important piece. So I think to not approve this and not have confidence that what you are doing is the right thing is a very bad thing for us to do on this school board. It should be a unanimous vote, but that's all I'm saying. So I will be supporting it, gratefully supporting it, and look forward to the next level of getting this going and moving forward with all the work that we need to do, because we are going to be number one thanks to Dr. Asplin. It may not happen while I'm here, but I'll be watching. So, Mrs. Brown, you're next.
I want to thank Dr. Asplin and Renoff on that explanation. I was surprised about the comments that were being made. I'm like, what is this we're bringing in? And then to hear that it is such a key part of our strategic plan. These professional learning communities is something you've been talking about, and one of the cornerstones of how you took St. Johns County to number one. Not you, but how St. Johns County went to number one, and how you are going to take Sarasota County to number one. This is a key part of that, as is the pre-K. We brought you in to improve our schools. You've heard from some people in the audience that we're failing in some areas. This is what you said. This is an answer to that. I support this wholeheartedly. I mean, we're going to get our teachers working together in teams, working for our kids, because you show me any teacher that doesn't refer to their students as my kids. They do. Maybe when they get to high school, they don't, but every elementary teacher I've ever seen, they call them my kids. And again, watch Abbott Elementary. They're my kids. And we take some part of that too. I mean, if we didn't take ownership in these kids and their outcomes, I mean, I don't think we're doing our jobs. Thank you for bringing this forward. Thank you for putting, this effort into improving our schools. And again, I just don't know how somebody could not support something that's so key to our strategic plan.
Mrs. Ziegler.
Thank you. I just want to clarify, because it's interesting. What is in front of us is an approval of a vendor contract. And so a lot of things have been focused on the PLC portion of our strategic plan. So I want to make sure these are separate conversations, because as noted, I think there was a 5-0 that supported the strategic plan. I've heard members of this of staff last workshop and over the years about how the quality of and the meaningful of what the value of PLCs and what they bring forward. We've had teachers come and speak to that as well. So I want to make a very clear distinction and separate. And I even said in my opening remarks here was that I believe in the value of PLCs. I've talked to our educators and they talk through the peer-to-peer value of it. And I wholeheartedly support that. So I think that's really important to clear up. I think that, and again, I am not specifically saying one thing negative or per se about the particular vendor that's in front of us right now. I think that, I do trust Dr. Asplund. And as I've gone through this, I thought, particularly, and I've mentioned before about, the work that was done over in St. John's and looked at as a model. And I know you try hard to keep that separate, but there was a real value. I mean, that was a huge determining factor of what many of these people on the board supported you as coming in as a superintendent. So I don't think that should be diminished. And so I think that's very important. I want to point out that I trust, but my job is to also verify. That is my job and all of ours as elected officials, and you're on a school board, you're part of oversight. So it does not mean you don't trust someone. There can be some outstanding questions. Can be some elements. And so, I want to make sure that that's clarified here as a board, because I don't want it to be inferred that there is lack of trust or anything like that. And I think that there is mutual respect for variety of reasons why someone would not support something or what have you. But I just wanted to make that very clear distinction. And so, again, I appreciate it. I do want to note, I think that, again, it was the PLC piece was driven in so many discussions here, but it is the contract that is in front of us is where my personal opinion as to why I'm not supporting it. I do know that there are other vendors. I'm not supporting one or the other, but there are a number of vendors or a handful that do PLCs. I don't doubt that the vetting process and that's where you agree with, and I don't want to even go into that from a negative standpoint. There are just some outstanding questions, and in particular with professional development, I think it is key that we have the right partner. And there's some just concerns that I have, and as I shared to the Dr. Asplund. So I just wanted to separate those two items as they were being blended together.
Mrs. Rose.
Thank you, and I will make this quick. I understand there's been a lot of dialogue, but I will not support this company at this time. Does not mean I wouldn't in the long run. I'm sure that very clear that it will pass, and I look forward to the success it brings. And I will not allow my peers, and this isn't in a disrespectful manner, this is in a clear communication manner, to make my vote about my faith in Dr. Asplund or in what this ultimately may do. But as it stands right now, I will not support with what I know as an educator and believing in my own self, will not support this particular company. And I am separating that from you, Dr. Asplund, and separating it from the importance of which I've been highly invested in for many years, professional learning communities and the capabilities of our teachers and staff. Thank you.
All right. I think that's it. Please vote. And the motion passes 3-2 with Mrs. Ziegler and Mrs. Rose dissenting. I think that wraps up our new business. It's been a long meeting, a good meeting. And I have a few announcements. Do any of you have any comments before I make the final announcements? Tell me no. I think we've just about commented out. And don't let Shirley open her mouth down in the end. No, I didn't say that, did I? Dr. Asplund.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but
No, that's quite all right.
I have to talk about this for just a second, just because it was brought up again tonight, and I need to clear some names. First of all, the item that was brought up regarding that particular student case, the ESE case, and it has to do with fact number 112 in the final order. And I know it was brought up again that there was that the principal at Riverview and a couple other folks committed fraud as far as changing language on documents. And I want everyone to know that I fully investigated that, and that is not true. I thought for a little while there I was going to have to fire somebody, because I will fire a person for committing fraud. And if they are changing documents, yes, they will be fired. But looking into that, the final order that the judge made was actually, I want to say, incorrect on the fraud piece, and I have the documentation to back that up if anybody ever needs to see it. But what the documents that were in question was the fact that there was one document that had handwriting of observing the student in the classroom, and there was another document that was typed. And the typed document was different than the handwritten document. And what I found is the reason it was is because it's from two different observers in the classroom. And when it was brought in front of the judge, it was brought in front of the judge as the same person who documented in writing and what was displayed that was typewritten, when in fact it was two different people observing the same student in the classroom, the aide and the teacher. The teacher had the handwritten document. The typed document was the aide's information. So of course they're going to be different. No one changed them when they typed it. And that was proven because the aide's handwritten document was also included as exhibit number 49 that was never brought in front of the judge. And if it had been, the word fraud would have never come up. So I wanted to dispel that. No one's being fired because no one committed fraud. And if anyone wants to look at the paperwork, I can provide that for you in my office. Please make an appointment, come see me. I want you to see that because I don't want anyone to think that we're not being transparent. So I just wanted to say that to clear these people's names because it is the right thing to do. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Asplin. The next board meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, March 1st at 6 p.m. Due to the referendum vote on Tuesday, March the 8th, the next monthly work session is scheduled for Thursday, March the 10th, starting at 9 a.m., followed by an executive session, which we voted on earlier. And as a reminder, the second board meeting in March will take place on Wednesday, March 23rd at 6 p.m. in the Venice City Hall boardroom. And I also want to thank Bonnie Pinner and tell her how happy we are and excited we are to welcome her to our school district. I talked to Bonnie on the phone a long time ago, and I'm happy to see your face, and welcome. Welcome. So with that, we're adjourned. Oh, Shirley Brown.
I just wanted to say that I will be out of town at the meeting in Venice, so that you're aware of it.